A little say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. Now, this will be somewhat of a different communication for a variety of reasons. Let us begin in this way. We would like you to set aside your expectations, set aside your assumptions about what you imagine this communication might be. We have a very specific agenda this day of your time to communicate to all of you. And as always, we have our reasons for doing so. We are, of course, aware of various events that have occurred of late on your planet and the buildup of energies. Now, we will take a moment to remind you that we, in general, spoke of this in your year of 1998 and did mention at that time that there was, at that time, a 97% chance of what you call a terrorist strike on your New York City. At the time, we included the possibility of it being nuclear in nature, for that was the most likely scenario at the time of the sensing. In essence, that is the only main factor that has changed. And because that has now come to fruition, and you have now passed onto the other side of a doorway, crossed a very specific kind of energy threshold, we can now find it within our agenda to communicate with you again, to continue the conversation that we began back in what you call your year of 1998, which to us was yesterday. For again, understand that time is meaningless to us. But we understood that your consciousness was required to go through a significant shift before there could be other things that would be presented. And we will continue that dialogue now. We also remind you that at one time we discussed with you the idea that we have extended an invitation to each and every one of you and to all of you together to become members of what you have referred to in your language as our Association of Worlds, Interstellar Alliance, Federation, whatever you wish to call it, does not matter to us. And in extending that invitation to each and every one of you and all of you together, we did, to some degree, explain that involvement, exchange, interaction, relationship with us in that way did require changes within each and every one of you and all of you together. And that over your years, this relationship would grow until such time as there would be a more, in your terms, recognizable interaction, physiological interaction between your world and our worlds. And at that time, then, eventually becoming what you would call a recognized member of the alliance, of the association. And so we would also like to add this day of your time information that will assist in generating the next step in your chosen evolution to eventually blend, join with all of us in a certain way, and thus do our part to continue our welcome to you into our association. You are, at this point, shall we say, honorary members. You don't exactly quite yet have a vote. Except the most important one, which is the vote for your planet. The vote for your reality. The vote for what you want your world to be. We will be discussing many different concepts this day of your time. We will be presenting some things that are extensions of what we have discussed before. We will be presenting many new things that we have never discussed before. Each and every one of these things in some way, shape, or form will be connected, though it may not seem so on the surface. And we would now remind you, shall we say, lift the veil a little bit on our technique of communicating with you by allowing you to understand more strongly than before that the things that we discuss with you have specific purpose, not always apparent on the surface. You and we and all beings are energy, resonance, and thus this interaction is more than just a conversation, a discussion. It is an orchestration, an empathic orchestration, a resonance, frequency, vibration, orchestration. And the specific things we choose to discuss and mention have specific effects in your consciousness, beyond the surface meaning of the words that are translating through the channel. So while we are perhaps talking about one thing, many other things are going on in terms of setting up resonances and energies that will move, flow in a certain direction, have a certain impact, all with your permission, of course. For nothing we do is against your will, for it works no other way but that you are a willing participant and will let in and allow in what you wish. But there are many levels to this conversation, some of which are not audible to you, and even many levels within the words we choose and the things we choose to tell you that will, in some way, shape, or form, tip the scales if you let it in. But that is up to you. Freedom of choice is paramount and always will be in these discussions. Most importantly, we reiterate and strengthen what we have said about dropping your expectations about what this discussion ought to be about. We recognize the things that are going on, and there will be some discussion that touches upon your recent events. But we would like to invite you to a different place than perhaps many of you have been living for your past few weeks. We would like to invite you to rise to a different level and understand these things that have occurred from a different perspective than perhaps many of you may have considered, or perhaps other than many of you have seen displayed in your society. This is not so much about who did what to whom, or why, or what is going to happen now. This is about taking stock of who you are. This is about taking responsibility. This is about engaging yourselves, engaging each other, engaging your gears into more action, more activity, more self-empowerment, more participation, in order to act more like members of the Alliance. For if you are such honorary members, if you wish to be, of our Alliance, then in that sense you are honorary representatives of the idea of the Alliance and the association on your planet. And there are things you can be doing, and things you can be saying with love, without pushing, without demanding, without threatening, without coercion, without, you had better do this now or else. That is not spirituality. No matter how much you may feel the idea of your heart energy, you must remember that the words coming out of your mouth sometimes will still be coming from fear and doubt, even though they may be inspired to be said by the things that you feel. You must allow yourself to remember to be engaged in body, mind, and spirit in taking your actions, in your communications, so that it is all cohesive, congruous, synchronous. You do not have to force. We remind you, again, the greatest power requires the lightest touch. That is why God is all but invisible. think about that. The greatest power requires the lightest touch. If you are an expression of the infinite as you are, and if you act as such, and you encompass that energy in your thoughts, words, and deeds, it will take very little to get done what needs to be done on your planet. And should you find that there is lack of receptivity, move on. Move on. Move around. Move under. Flow over. Flow through like water. No resistance. None given, none taken. Act in accordance to the flow of love. And love you will leave in your wake. We invite you now then to understand that as an invitation has been extended for some time, you may, if you wish, label this communication RSVP. For this is an invitation to respond. To respond, not react, respond. Which is, in that sense, the root of responsibility. Your ability to respond. You have, at this moment, an unprecedented opportunity in the collective energy, especially of your culture and of the world at this time. For see what has occurred. See what has occurred in the collective consciousness. Yes, we understand there may be different ways of looking at it. Yes, we understand there may be different opinions about how to relate to it and what should be done. But that is not really the point. That is surface. Look at what is happening. Look at the unification. Also, very important, very critical, crucial. Your culture has been taken by surprise. That energy still exists. You may feel you are, to some degree, getting used to the idea of your new place in the world, your new status, your new relationship with what is going on your planet. But you are still very much in shock and surprise and bewilderment and amazement and wonderment. This state is very open to change. This state is very willing to accept guidance from those that are willing to love themselves and others enough to send that energy into the world now as a beacon to light the way for the way the energy can be crystallized when it does recrystallize. I cannot underscore the importance of this state enough. It is one of the main reasons we are communicating with you now. Your culture is now like clay. The rigidity has gone out of it to a great extent. Yes, we understand there are rigid reactions throughout. But this is a fragmentation. This is, to some degree, an indication of bones within a body that may take a while to change, but the rest of the body is mostly water and can flow now. Its vibrations, its patterns, the ripples within each and every one of your cellular structures is open. You are ringing like bells. And believe me, we can hear it. We can hear it. We can feel it. And this is why it is important for us to respond now. So that in ringing our bell, it can set up an empathetic vibration in your bells. So that we can become a chorus that sing as one. This state will last for a little while, perhaps even the rest of your year. Take the opportunity to add the vibration now, strongly, with your love, with your deeds, with your actions, with your involvement, so that you will help select the spectrum, the colors that will then become one and many. Many and one. Working in concert, living in concert, playing in concert, loving in concert. This is an important time, a very precious time in your society, where you can tap into this vibration of newness, of unexpectedness, of some sense of being lost, foundering, wandering, looking, searching, seeking. Where do we go? What do we do? Who are we? We are not now what we thought we were. Where shall we go? Who shall we be? Put it out there. Put it out there. Put yourselves out there. Put you out there. Get involved. Participate. Act. Be. Do. Show generosity. Show kindness. Show love. Show acceptance. Show allowance in thought, word, and deed. Show helpfulness. Show support. Show connection. Show relationship. Relationship. The reason that we know, and the reason that you know, that all the things we will discuss this day are connected, even though they may not seem to be, is because there is only one thing. There is only one thing. And we are all it. And it is us. All of us. You, us, everyone, everywhere, everything, every when. And so, what seem like different topics, different subjects, will be the same one consciousness, whose chords will be plucked at different pitches, creating what seem to be different notes, to create an orchestration of allowance, malleability, and true power. True power. Destruction, of course, is not power, never has been. It is easy to destroy. That's because it takes no power. Power is in creation. Power is in relationship. Power is in unity. That is power. It takes no power to destroy. That's why anyone can do it. And it's easy and quick. You can destroy a building in seconds. Create together. Bond together. A foundation that is unbreakable across the planet. Teach through action, not proselytizing, not, you must know this or else you're not one of us. Not that. Not that. Not that. Oh, did I mention not that? For that is not teaching. That is not teaching. That is only fear that what you say you believe in might not really be so. And so to convince yourself, you must convince others. Of course, that never works. And so we will never try that. Because we know what works, because we have been to some degree where you are. In some ways, quite literally. For you are us, and we are you, from another point of view. And we are all one. Look now to the symbols of your society. We have discussed some of them with you before. Your sociological symbols, your stories, your myths, your legends. We understand that to some of you this may seem facetious, frivolous, funny, silly. But understand it is a very strong barometer of many, many things. We have discussed this before. One of the strongest stories in your society is that one you refer to as Star Trek. Why? There's a reason. It represents certain things about you. It reflects certain things about you. And again, the timing is no accident for how that particular legend, story, myth, symbol plays out in your society. We have actually used it as a barometer many times to see the reflections going on all levels of your society. That one show. I know it sounds strange to some of you, but it isn't. It is more of a collective consciousness expression than you might imagine. You all play a part in feeding ideas to the writers on different levels. The writers of that particular show are open to receiving them, whether they know it or not, and incorporate them into many of their stories. They say, hey, just had a new idea. Let's try this out. And of course what they did is wake up from a dream that they may not remember, where they had a big conversation with everyone and said, we're going in this direction. It might be a good idea to reflect this in your story. For stories are mirrors, as you know, that teach you about yourselves. And now look where your Star Trek is going. They're starting over at the beginning. Back to the basics. All bets are off. It's all new. Unknown territory. Exploring for the first time a place you've never gone before. That is exactly what's happening to you right now in your society. So that particular story is holding up fine and doing its job well as a reflection of what you're going through as a basic state of being. Pay attention to that. It's important for you to see yourselves in your mirrors clearly. For you make many mirrors, but some of them have become distorted or dusty. You need to wipe them clean and take another look and see where you're really at, who you really are, where you want to be, where you want to go, and take the steps to be that and go there. Clearly, cleanly, deliberately, responsibly, lovingly, allowingly, happily, playfully, joyfully, creatively. RSVP. Respond, please, to this challenge, to this invitation. Or not. But that's your choice and your consequence. For this is all about consequences of actions. And never, never, never in your recent history for a little while has it ever been truer, played out quite blatantly, one of your myths, one of your legends, one of your symbols, one of your axioms, that the sins of the father are visited upon the son. Do you understand my meaning? Understand these things, and you will understand yourselves. See these things, and you will see yourselves. But we do not want you to look under every rock for things that you imagine might be there. We do not suggest that you spend your time weeding out every diabolical thought that someone may have of how to take advantage of you. This is not what this day is all about. This is not what this energy is all about. And it is certainly not the way to really ride the wave to the best of your advantage. So again, I invite you to drop your stories. The ones that you would call baggage. The ones that are becoming heavy. Much heavier with every passing day. Especially in light of what has happened. For this baggage cannot help you. You must see it clearly and let it go. More than ever now, let it go. Let it go. Let it go.